Episode 5, Exercise Time. Things you can versus things you can't control.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
And there we go. The first week of podcasts is complete, and I don't know what I am, totally psyched on the one hand and totally worn out on the other, because struggling with a lot of technical difficulties was something that I didn't anticipate when I started working on this thing. So everything's panned out, and two things came to my mind when I actually planned this show. Number one, I thought, what would it make it even better? I think that was a sentence. And rather than just blabbing smart advice at you consistently, I thought that at the end of the week, we're going to do an episode called Exercise Time. Now, this will give you the weekend to kind of work on this if you want to. If you don't, disregard it. If you think it's a good idea for someone else, send it to them. If you think it's stupid or have any other kind of feedback, remember to send it to the very best podcast in the world at gmail.com. And the second thing that occurred to me while planning Exercise Friday was kind of that I was such a couch potato and a bum that I couldn't even really spell exercise. Thank God for autocorrect on that. And in today's exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to determine the importance of ignoring things you can't control and freeing up that mind space and dedicating it towards the things you can control. Now, it sounds awfully complex and complicated, but it's not. I have a simple method that I crammed up and kind of put together, and that has worked for me in the past quite well, that will allow you to make a no-brain effort towards redirecting your focus from the negative sphere on things which is occupied with things you cannot control, and dedicate that time towards things you can control. Now, first of all, I think we have to differentiate between the two. And one of the examples I wanted to outline, because I noticed that I'm spending too much time on this entire COVID situation going on. Regardless of how bad it is, there's nothing you can really do about it. You know, you can whine, you can complain about the measures, the government measures being put in place, and you can really dedicate a lot of time towards all of the victims, but we don't really know how many of them actually died of COVID or with whatever. You know, it's a fucking waste of time. And it's a fucking waste of your valuable time, because the one asset you cannot get back is time. And if you go broke, if you go bankrupt, somewhere along the journey of your life, you can make up for that. You can earn money, you can have the next business idea, and you can earn that money back. But you cannot buy back time, and there's no worse way to waste your most prized asset than in dedicating your time towards things you cannot control. And that's one very important thing you have to understand. And with that being said, I want to direct you towards the exercise. And it's rather simple, as I promised. in that I'm going to need you to take a sheet of paper, preferably what's the American measurement? I think it's letter size, like a regular letterhead sheet of paper. You fold it in half, and on the top half, I'm going to need you to think about the things you actually can control, right? And I need you to write them down on the top half of that sheet of paper. Now, on the bottom half, simply because it, deserves less of your attention, I'm going to need you to write down all the things that you thought about during the week, or perhaps even the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks or months or whatever. And I'm going to need you to write those things you cannot control down on the bottom half of that sheet of paper. And again, it's not about brainstorming, and it's not about being the first to finish. It's actually to sit down and contemplate about it, which was the whole idea behind putting the exercises on a Friday, because it gives you the weekend to kind of think about that stuff, right? And once you've done that, once you've filled the top half with stuff you can control and the bottom half with stuff you cannot control, I'm going to need you to cut that sheet of paper in half that you have along the line that you have folded. And you take the bottom half and you tear it apart. You look at it, you look at all the stuff that you've been wasting time on, and you just tear that piece of paper apart. If you have a garden, or, you live in the city and it's allowed to make a small fire, go outside, take a lighter, burn the piece of shit, dance around it. Gets even more emotional, without any voodoo belief attached to it, of course. Now, with that upper half, which contains all the stuff you can control, I'm going to need you to put that in a very prominent place, a place you hang around a lot. If you're a couch potato, put it in a frame, put it on your coffee table. If you're the kitchen person, put it in the kitchen on the fridge, right? Perhaps you want to, you have so many things you can control, or you came up with so many things you can control. You want to take another letter-sized piece of paper and write it on there, just to give it a bit more room for your influenceable things to live in, and put it on the fridge with a magnet, or whatever you want to do with it. And then what you're going to notice is that the energy that you put towards the things you cannot control is now totally free to be dedicated towards the things you can control. And what are the things you can control? There's a lot of things that are so easily overlooked. In that, is it making your kid happier by paying more attention to it, rather than being on a WhatsApp chat or a phone call with your friend complaining about how bad it is to wear a mask outside or whatever, in context to the example I mentioned earlier. Or perhaps with that free time, spend a bit more time with your pet, go for a walk with your dog while listening to a podcast, perhaps, freeing up your mind for new input. Those are the kind of things I'm going to need you to put on that list. Once that list is finished, and you have it posted, feel free to, send me an email with a picture of it. The address is theverybestpodcastintheworld@gmail.com. Or, send me feedback how it went. Send me feedback about things you ditched that you had on the I cannot control half of the sheet of paper, right? In that sense, have a happy weekend. I hope this exercise will send you down a more positive route next week. And I'll be looking forward to hearing you then with a whole new episode. Stay tuned.